And what we essentially get down to every day at 8 a.m. is to look at the overnight developments. And you know the drill. People have been joining us for the longest time now. For those who are new and joining us today, we're looking at overnight developments, the top headlines across various newspapers. Varghese helps us with a focus on Kerala as well. And we've got a Hindi newspaper. Along with that, what the social media is abuzz with and what are some of the headlines on tabloids and what is the internet telling us. We're going to put all of that out for you. Some top stories that we're definitely going to be looking at is, of course, Yamuna breaching that 45-year-old record. Right now, we're looking at 208.46 meters.
I think as we are speaking, it's rising further.
It is rising further. I visited a low-lying area near the embankment area, and well, let me tell you, the situation certainly is grim. Not a lot of help for the people out there. We're going to show you visuals and focus on that. Of course, the Prime Minister has him planned for France. It's going to be, a proper meeting. It's right there on the front page. It says new benchmarks for strategic ties. Foreign Secretary on Prime Minister's France visit. Modi to hold talks with Macron on defense space and is going to visit the UAE on the 15th of July as well. Bengal poll violence, again, a top, front page news. It says 6 more dead in Bengal poll violence. Let's not forget, 18 people died on the day of polling for the West Bengal Panchayat polls, which was a clean sweep for the TMC, but 6 more dead in Bengal poll violence. Relatives say 3 were killed in police firing. Of course, that governor versus chief minister tussle is something that we're going to throw light on. Sonia Gandhi is going to attend the opposition meet, a slew of parties that have been invited, as the opposition is now trying to, solidify their posture ahead of 2024, because the BJP has been taking meetings.
Or rather, they are trying to show they are united.
Well, yeah. And of course, India's opposition to the European Union
debate on
and their
Manipur.
proposed debate on Manipur. India has opposed it. We are going to talk about that as well. First and foremost, the topic at hand, still talking to colleagues who are facing trouble getting to work because of the water. The water has breached a certain level. It has broken a 45-year-old record. Yesterday, I went down to the low-lying areas, and this is the situation in Yamuna. If you look at it, we'll show you those visuals. Level in Delhi reached 208.05 meter, but that has risen now. That 05 has gotten nearly 6.46 this very morning, breaching a 45-year-old record on Wednesday night. The last record was 207.49 in the year 1978. It was heavy rainfall in North India, particularly Haryana, Himachal and Uttarakhand, which has led to the current spate. According to the Chief Minister, Arvind Kejriwal says that it's actually not the rain as much as the fact that the state of Haryana has been releasing a lot of water from the Hatni Khund barrage, and that is what has led to Yamuna being in this situation of being in full spate. We've got visuals of people, putting all of their stuff, all of their commodities, all of the articles that they own on top of, carts, bullock carts, on top of, e-rickshaws and, auto rickshaws, just to save their articles. The water, they're trying to wade through knee-deep water. And when I was speaking to all of them, Varghese, the first thing that came about was that there was no help. They did not know what to do next. I met some 3-4 families with all their utensils and clothes and mattresses and their cots and charpais, everything brought on their head to a higher ground. And I categorically kept on asking everybody, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? What's the plan? Because they had little kids with them and nobody had any answer. They were all farmers, daytime laborers. Take a look at those visuals. I mean, people sleeping on those, makeshift beds, but the water is right below them.
These are
you'd pay thousands of dollars for a plunge pool, or have a bed inside the pool in a nice luxurious hotel in Bali, but you have these visuals.
Also, someone is having a selfie moment at the same time in those visuals. But Kabir, these are the areas. Authorities have warned that water level will rise through the night and rise about 208, but I think it's gone more than that now. And Thursday, large chunks of Delhi, especially Monastery Market, Manjukka Tila in North Delhi, Mayur Vihar Phase 1 and Geeta Colony in East Delhi, and multiple patches on the Ring Road near Kashmir Gate in Old Delhi were inundated. So these are the areas that have been completely inundated. And one of the things is that I can just show you the kind of, as you rightly pointed out, I think all the papers have tried to capture the problem. Whoever, whatever savings they have, and whatever, the physical savings that
It's
they
all
have
of their
from bed,
livelihoods.
mattress, yeah, it's their complete livelihood, their clothing, everything. So they're trying to, in fact, save that. And here are the visuals of this. People from low-lying areas help each other. Now, as you said, they did not know what to do, and of course, the authorities are also seem to be saying that they don't know what to do. So these are the. This is that photograph from the Hindustan Times, and you can see 1978 floods is what it's reminded of. People trying to help each other as the Yamuna swells, especially in the low-lying areas near the banks of the river. And you can see how people are trying to.
People on top of that bridge also,
Oh, yeah,
Varghese,
people
trying to
on top of
pull
that bridge.
people up, and then the articles, and then the livestock, and people had to move with their livestock as well.
They had
People
to
are taking
move with
care
their
of three,
livestock as
four,
well.
cows. There are huge cattle, and it started raining right when I was talking to them.
In
and
fact,
you could see on their faces.
This picture is from the Mayur Vihar side of the Yamuna on Wednesday. So, Mayur Vihar side, the first phase area, of course, seeing the kind of massive flooding that we are looking at. But then, as you rightly pointed out, I think people don't know what to do, because the kind of help that they're getting is only from their neighbors. Experts have pointed out that Delhi then didn't have a 22 kilometers of embankments on each side of Yamuna protecting the city in 1978, and added that 3 consecutive days of little or no rainfall in Delhi may help avoid large-scale flooding, with new measures added over the past 45 years. So they are hoping that they can mitigate the floods if possible, because of the embankments that they have built. Now, relief personnel helped to evacuate at least 16,500 personnel and help evacuate from these districts that could in fact face the kind of flooding that we are seeing. And they've been housed and the 2,500 relief camps have been set up, is what they are saying, and house them in. Most of these people have been housed them in that. And also, as you rightly pointed out, the water is coming from upstream, because there has been a lot of rain in the catchment areas, in the banks, especially near the dam areas in Haryana, Himachal, Uttarakhand. So the water level is going to rise, because the dams are also opening up their sluice gates and letting water out. So we have to keep monitoring the situation right now, and nothing else can be done. But this is something as of worry, because 1978 floods is something that Delhi remembers. For those old Delhiites, they still remember those days. But the water, in fact, reaching to that level is something of a word of caution.
Varghese, for people who are living in concrete structures and in shelters as well, they can still go through even as we're getting fresh shots of the Yamuna and the kind of position it is in right now. The people who've had to live in settlements, who are living away from home, who are daily wage laborers, that don't have enough and a lot to their name, those are the people that end up missing out a lot.
Yes.
Take a look at this this picture that Mint has put out, and it's really interesting to see, because there's a story here. There's a woman who's looking at her settlement. What must be going on inside the mind of this little woman who's looking ahead at the entire settlement that has drowned, Varghese? What does one make of this particular picture? Well, looking at pretty much everything you own that is now submerged and inundated.
Well, I think that is what the situation actually is captured in that picture. It just shows that a lot of people who have tried to make their lives and their livelihood in the city, and who have been living at the embankments of the river, well, they are the ones who have been facing this huge risk. And this just shows that situation is not the way it is right now. It is a very abnormal situation that they're looking at. And you can see most of these shanty, the huts that have been put up. And you can see the kind of tin can. They're mostly made of tin cans, and most of them made from tin material. And there you can see those the water, in fact, entering those areas. So whatever they have, the little that they have to take it and move out. And this just shows that I think from here, the water is above almost your neck in certain places. I think that is the level of water that has entered these places.
Well, one more thing that did come out, Varghese, was the fact that a lot of people kept on saying that there wasn't enough help. Even as we're looking at this huge figure of 16,564 people who have been evacuated from the floodplains. This could also be Delhi, but we're not just talking about Delhi. The Yamuna affects the Delhi NCR. It's the national capital region. A lot of places that are outside the jurisdiction of, let's say, Gurugram, Noida, or Delhi, and not a lot of people have got help. I mean, if you've had to climb up with makeshift ladders and climb up cut up wood logs and tree trunks, that just shows you the situation, the apathy at hand, and not just that, the torrential rain that created and wreaked havoc in the mountainous regions. A lot of people have started now moving out of there as well. Over 2,000 stranded tourists that were evacuated from Manali, Shimla, the Kullu district, from where we saw that ravaging, downstream Bias, in Punjab, Satluj. That river has gone down now, but Yamuna in the national capital continues to pretty much submerge anything that comes in its way. Take a look at that visual. The man trying to wade through the Yamuna, which should have been a road essentially, or a pathway, a solid pathway. Now it's the Yamuna over there, and he's trying to wade through knee-deep water. This is the Yamuna, and it's so dangerous because it could be a sinkhole, there could be a little pothole, a manhole that anybody could fall into. You don't know what's coming next.
Well, also that is one interesting bit of politics that's also happening. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal called an emergency meeting and wrote to Union Home Minister Amit Shah asking for his intervention in stopping the release of water from the Hathni Kund barrage in Haryana, about 230 kilometers upstream. The level in the Yamuna is directly linked to the release of water in the barrage, and later in the day he said he spoke to Union Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, who assured him that while not releasing the water was not possible since the barrage did not have a reservoir, the quantum of water being sent downstream was considerably lower than earlier because rivers upstream in Himachal were no longer in spate. So that is some good news coming in, saying that the quantity of water into the barrage is actually lessening because the rivers upstream is not that much in spate. But still, what we are seeing is probably the release, and if this could be maintained for at least 2-3 days, we can actually see the water receding.
Well, certainly let's hope that not a lot of damage is calculated today. We are still in the process of evacuating a lot of other people. These are trees, I mean, Varghese, I know exactly this particular point. These are trees that you can usually see with, from real far off. And the land is barren, it's usually dry, people are playing cricket. And now at that very, at those very points,
have you seen
even the
this
barrages
kind of,
even the barrages are shut.
In your living memory, have you seen this Yamuna rising at this level?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
Not in the national capital, no.
So,
not really. Well,
so
we're going to continue to bring you the latest updates from the river Yamuna as it breaches that, 208.50 mark. It's a 45-year-old record. The last time it was 207 was the year 1978. What's going to happen next? Well, we'll find out. Lots of politics that's happening behind the doors as well. This is that road that is going towards the ITO, Varghese. Well, moving on, we also have some interesting facts to take a look at. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be on a 2-day Paris visit. He's already emplaned for Paris. It's the India-France defense ties that are going to be in focus of the Prime Minister's 2-day visit. How do you think the people are going to look at? Because I've been saying this for a long time that under S. Jaishankar, under Prime Minister Modi, foreign policy has become a hot topic. It's a pop culture topic now. And these two men are, the poster boys of India's foreign policy. We were just talking about United States. Prime Minister was in the United States. It was an official state visit. Defense was focused over there as well. Emmanuel Macron, the French fighter jets. What kind of dots are you connecting in your head, where defense being the prime focus here?
Kabir, the thing about France is that among our defense suppliers, we have Russia, of course, at the top. Then we have Israel and France competing for the second position. Sometimes you'll have the French coming in second or the Israelis coming in second. But the fact remains is that they are a major defense collaborator with us, and we also have kind of the same kind of comfort relationship that we have with Russia. And when the Prime Minister moves to France, what we are seeing is probably one of the biggest deals that we are going to look at after the Rafale. We are talking about probably signing up for 3 more Scorpene submarines, and at the same time the marine version of the Rafale for our aircraft carriers. So it is going to be a big deal with that. And also there's a possibility that when we are looking at our AMCA program, the jet engine that might power the AMCA program could be a French-Indo collaboration. So a lot of things are on the table with France, and it is not only strategic ties but also defense ties. And at the same time, we are also seeing,
I think it's going to be more of defense ties.
It's going to be more of defense ties, yes, but as I said, it is also strategic ties that are slowly shaping on par with that of the Russians.
This is how the Mint has put it. It says, buying naval variants of Rafale jets, deal to jointly develop jet engines will be key topics. And those are, little snippets on various French publications about
big coverage of the Prime Minister's visit.
Well, certainly. Les Echos. Well, certainly means the echo. I think so. I mean, I'm doing like a general translation. But it says here, buying naval variant of Rafale jets, deal to jointly develop jet engine will be key topics. A 269-member Indian tri-surfaces contingent will participate in this particular parade in France.
Now, this is the Bastille Day.
Exactly, precisely. This is the 14th of July is in fact Bastille Day. He's going to be there. Now, Vinet Quatra, he described the recent riots in several French cities as an internal matter and said that that had no impact on the visit. Well, of course, about that 17-year-old boy who was shot. Then again, the old pension scheme, that is something that is a little sensitive issue in France. While declining to comment on specific outcomes in the spheres of defense in the Modi-Macron talks, Quatra said, ways to move the engagement towards co-production, co-development and co-design of military hardware and linking it to India's priorities for self-reliance is expected to be part of the discussions. I mean, more than anything, it seems like India's having its own way, but more than anything, it's the fact that everybody wants a piece of India as well. Everybody wants a part of India in their own foreign policy.
No, there is several
They want to be
reasons for
seen
it.
with Prime Minister Modi.
The thing is, India is also a country that has been the largest importer of arms. So you want to have some kind of a defense kind of a slice that you want with it. And because of that, it is pertinent that relations with India remain. And France has been a very important partner when it comes to our defense. This thing I was saying, after Russia, probably the French and the Israelis are the ones with whom we are very comfortable when it comes to defense matter, because there is a certain level of TOT also with them, which is transfer of technology. And at the same time, strategic relationships have also been in focus. And remember, before the Rafale, there was the Mirage, and it has worked splendidly for the IAF. They have used it probably as part of our nuclear triad also from the 1980s onwards, from when the purchase was carried out to early 1990s. It was supposed to be the most important plane in the inventory of the IAF, and probably had a nuclear strike role as well. And later, you know how it's happened in Bagalkot also. It was the aircraft that has been used. It's still a very advanced aircraft when it comes, the Mirage 2000s are, and we are maintaining, and we've gone to the next step with the Rafale. And now the possibility of buying 26 Rafale marine aircraft, the idea behind is to bring some kind of commonality between the planes that the IAF has as well as the Navy has. And this is going to be quite interesting of a visit. But that's only when you're talking about the defense things, but there are a lot of commonality of interest between the French and us when it comes to the world as well, and we are probably discovering it as well.
Well, so what's going to happen in this 2-day visit? The Prime Minister, that's the kind of coverage the Prime Minister is already receiving ahead of his visit at about 4 p.m. today, he is going to be landing in Paris, and I'll just take you through his particular inventory, what's going to happen, his itinerary. The Prime Minister will depart from Delhi. He will arrive in Paris at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time and will receive a ceremonial welcome at the Orly Airport. At around 7:30 p.m., ladies and gentlemen, today, the Prime Minister will arrive at the Senate and meet Mr. Gerard Larcher, the President of the Senate. At 8:45 p.m. Indian time, the Prime Minister will have a meeting with French Prime Minister Miss Elizabeth Borne. Then the Prime Minister will address an Indian community event at the iconic La Ciem Musicale at around 11 p.m. Indian time today. Thereafter, at about 12:30 a.m., late at midnight Indian time, the Prime Minister will reach LAC Palace for a private dinner hosted by the French President Emmanuel Macron. And let's not forget, it is Bastille Day tomorrow. The 14th of July is Bastille Day. It's an important day in terms of French history, and not just French history. A French Revolution is, anything to go by. It's really important on the global level as well. So we'll have to wait and find out. But just like that state visit at the United States, it is going to be proper PR and optics and foreign policy for the Prime Minister and India. But I'm going to stick by my word. It seems like India is having its own way with each of these countries, and that's only because the people want a piece of Narendra Modi.
People want a piece of Narendra Modi, and also part of India's growth story. And India could become the defense, like we've been the back office of the world. Probably we can become the defense mechanical workshop of the world, because a lot of countries are talking about setting up their, maintenance facility lines in this place. Boeing was interested, Lockheed Martin was interested.
Right. And that's only because India says we want these missiles our way. We won't buy those MQ-9 Reaper drones unless you set up shop here, so that we can get them fixed and repaired and maintained.
Yeah, and also we tend to be able to cater. You don't need to bring these weapons platforms to the home country. You can get it catered, and from Asia, it can become the defense workshop of the backyard defense workshop for the world. So it's a business opportunity also that India is in fact looking into. But it's not only defense. One small reading: the two leaders are also expected to explore new areas of cooperation in space, especially since this sector in India has undergone a rapid evolution. So
and that space is something that's so important. Chandrayaan 3, that mission is going to be launched real soon. We're trying to hit the dark side of the moon. That particular show coming up at 1 p.m. with my colleague Pankaj Mishra. Do check that out as well. India is trying to hit the ground running. It's going to go land, try to assess and analyze the south pole of the moon.
One of the most unexplored areas on the moon.
Before we move on, Varghese, a small little, piece of information that I'd just like to share with the viewers. Milan Kundera, exiled Czech writer who made light of the unbearable, dies at the age of 94. He was a dissident, musician and day laborer. Milan Kundera, I mean, of course, I wasn't around when, this man was up and about his particular thing. But The Unbearable Lightness of Being was adapted into a 1988 film starring Daniel Day-Lewis as Thomas, a Czech surgeon who criticizes the communist leadership and is forced to wash windows for a living. Now, Kundera, and I'll show you the picture in just a little bit, was twice expelled from the Communist Party. First in 1950, inspiring the plot of The Joke, about a young man expelled from university and the Communist Party over an innocent joke, and again in 1970 for advocating reform. Over the next several years, he worked as a jazz musician and a day laborer. A really beautiful piece in the Indian Express on Milan Kundera as well. Moving on, we were looking at Prime Minister Modi's visit to France, and in Europe, the European Union has proposed to debate Manipur. Now, Manipur is a sensitive issue. It is certainly our internal matter. It's important to note here how the Ministry of External Affairs has postured itself. It says that Manipur is an internal matter to India. This is India's statement to the European Union. It says, ahead of a planned debate in the European Parliament on the situation in Manipur, India on Wednesday said it has been made clear to the parliamentarians that this is a matter absolutely internal to the country. A motion for a resolution on Manipur situation was tabled in the Brussels-based EU Parliament, and it was scheduled to be taken up later. Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra Indian Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra said that the European Union parliamentarians concerned are being reached out, and it has been made clear to them that it is a matter absolutely internal to India. A little bit of a warning vibration in those statements as well, Varghese. And I understand that this is an internal matter to India. And
it is an internal matter of India, and I think it is our issue. We are not poking into the affairs of other nations as well. So I think European Parliament should leave.
But how can a tenuous situation like Manipur not make the heads turn across the globe? I mean, people are free to form their own opinions.
They are free to form. See, we are not restricting any foreign government or institutions from having their own opinion about it. But what we are trying to say is that, when it comes to how to deal with the matter, it is the government of India that will take the decision, and the local government will take the decision on it. Since it is an internal matter, we are not asking them how to rein in their issues in Europe. We are not asking them how to rein in their issues in France. We are not telling them why the riots are happening. We are not talking to Europeans about how they have to be more benevolent to immigrants while they treat them like caged animals when it comes to putting them on islands that have been having a huge lot of police to restrict them from getting into the mainland of Europe. We are not telling them to do what. If we start pulling up some of the human rights violations that are happening in the so-called democracies, I think that would be an issue that we're dealing with.
I mean, let's
no,
not
my point is, I'm saying is that, this colonial mindset, is just too much about it.
Hear me out. All I'm saying is that, when youngsters are carrying out, those gun assaults in the United States, when these Sudanese factions are fighting, people in India do form an opinion. People in India do talk about it.
Kabir,
we then, open that door to a conversation about gun laws in India. We then open a door about conversations how we start comparing societies. I'm not saying call each other out. You can't call a country out. I mean, of course, it's a United States matter. We can't possibly do anything about it.
Why we are doing that? Why we are doing it? That because we respect internal boundaries. But
essentially,
anyway, just to add to that, there is an interesting, as you were mentioning, Quatra. The Hindu has brought this. He, however, declined to comment on a report in a Manipur newspaper that said that the government has hired a prominent lobbying firm in Brussels, Alba and Giga, to help with the outreach to MEPs, that is the member of European parliaments, that had reportedly sent a letter on behalf of the Indian government to them. At least 6 of the 8 political groups in the European Parliament who will vote on Thursday after the debate on Wednesday have so far submitted motions for a resolution on India, the situation in Manipur. So I think that is also interesting.
How about let's quickly listen into Vinay Quatra when he addressed the media yesterday, when he spoke about India's stance on this European Union Parliament's proposal to debate Manipur in Brussels. Let's listen in.
Just indulge in a question slightly related to Europe, and that is that on the eve of Prime Minister's visit there, the European Parliament is actually looking at a resolution on Manipur today. I wanted to ask what the Indian response is, and in particular to a news report that says India actually hired a lobby firm in Brussels, I think it's called Alber and Geiger, to try and stop this resolution from being discussed in the Parliament, but this did not go, this was not successful.
On the Manipur question, Suhashini, this is to India. We are aware of what the Brussels in the Parliament is happening, and we have made a reach out to the concerned EU parliamentarians, but we have made it very clear to them this is a matter totally and absolutely internal to India.
Well, so matter totally and absolutely internal to India. Does that mean nobody else can talk about it as well?
See, it's not about they can't talk about it. Of course they can talk about it. But when you have institutions like European Parliament taking it up, I think they have bigger issues in their backyard to take up than to look at what's happening in India. We are a democracy. We have our own institutions and mechanisms. Our courts are functioning. We have our this thing. We are in fact, as the news entity, we have been highlighting what's happening in Manipur for such a long time. The issue is not that what is right or wrong or what is happening in Manipur. Of course, what's happening in Manipur is an issue that has to be focused on. The issue is the mindset with which they are approaching this, that this pontification is somewhere that needs to be stopped. The sanctimonious attitude saying that we are holier than thou. kind of an attitude. So I think that is something that we need to challenge. And I'm also, it's not to say that the Manipur or what's happening in Manipur shouldn't have make an opinion. Of course, international news also, we also make an opinion out of it. But the fact remains is that we do not impose or try to implement our internal matter on someone else, or try to put our opinion on their internal matters, implement or try to implement it. That is the thing over here. And MEP, when it's discussing something like an issue like Manipur, I think it's not, the Indian Parliament is not discussing about what's happening in the whole of Europe and the kind of problems that Europe are facing. So why have this pontificating attitude towards the world is the issue?
Also, focusing just on Manipur for a little bit, there's a Nagaland subdivision that has barred Aadhaar update for people from Manipur. Now, this is
That's
the
news, in fact,
Medzifema authorities have asked common service centers to not let cookies change Aadhaar address. This is another development. This is being reported by the Hindu on their website. It says the authorities of a subdivision in Nagaland's Chumau Kedima district have instructed the common service center operators not to let cookie people displaced from Manipur change their address in their Aadhaar cards. The Kuki is recognized as one of the 16 tribes of Nagaland, have a larger population in adjoining Manipur. Now, many of them had left Manipur following the ethnic clashes with majority Meitei people that began on the 3rd of May. So, people who've left Manipur and have gone to Nagaland, those people from belonging to the Kuki tribe, this is what, the Hindu has put out. It says the authorities of the subdivision in Nagaland's Chumu Kedima district. Chumu Kedima district have instructed the common service center operators not to let Kuki people displaced from Manipur change their address in their Aadhaar cards.
Well, also I have a story coming in from, since you have taken up the Hindu. The Hindu has also given an anchor story on the front page. It says Manipur police filed criminal case against Meitei organization chief. The Manipur police have registered a criminal case against Meitei Lipun chief Pramod Singh for allegedly promoting enmity between groups, criminal conspiracy and other charges. This is a government source has confirmed that an FIR was registered against Mr. Singh on July 8th at the Pokpi police station.
Right.
This was based on a complaint by Kuki students organizations. So there is a case filed against a prominent Meitei organization chief as well.
Well, then again, I mean, coming back to the European Parliament debate, when so much is taking place and taking shape here, it is certainly not advisable for other people to start talking about it, certainly. But then a lot of people will again say this is again a bid to, clamp down on, freedom of thought, freedom of expressing, their own freedom of speech. All of that will come into the play as well. Time and again, we've seen, various Western publications who've come out, openly calling out, what India is doing in terms of, human rights. And India has given a stern reply back. I mean, look at how Jai Shankar has faced those, questions. Look at how, Arindam Bakshi, Vinay Quatra have, answered back on those questions, saying that, this is an internal matter. And how about you take care of your human right situation first, rather than, coming out and calling out other countries. We're doing the best we can. You pretty much focus on yourself. And like I said before, everybody wants a piece of India, and debating Manipur would certainly, turn their head, which right now, ladies and gentlemen, is not the right thing to do. The European Union, should it or should it not, debate Manipur is something that I can't give an answer to right now. But certainly what I can say is that, Manipur is a sensitive issue. Everybody should hope and pray for peace. And whilst I say that, everybody here at News 9, our hearts and prayers and thoughts with those who have lost their loved ones, who are in this perilous state right now. We know a lot of people are in relief centers. They don't have, the kind of life that they envisioned and they were living. That has completely taken a 180-degree turn. A lot of depression, a lot of loss of life, a lot of loss of property, a lot of damage on both sides, not just one side, on both sides. And of course, so much of weapons still with the people, that porous border state, the poppy cultivation, narco-terrorism. I mean, you name it, and that socio-economic fault line exists in Manipur. And to top it all, the cherry on the top, of course, is the fact that there are people in the society, in in the state of Manipur, that don't necessarily like their chief minister. So the administration is also allegedly biased.
Well, that has been a debate that's been going on, that's saying that the administration is in fact biased. But again, the issue here would be discussion of Manipur in the European Parliament. Plus, I think we should also understand 3-4 days back, though the US ambassador to India had said that it's an internal matter of India, it was anyway ready to offer some kind of an assistance when it comes to dealing with the situation in Manipur. So I think Manipur has caught the foreign press's attention, but let us categorically reinstate that feeling. Let me tell you that it is an internal matter of the country.
All right. I'm just going to show you a quick cartoon as well. It's business as usual by Unni, even as we move on to the next story. And I have another interesting story, this on the Indian Express front page, about Northeast itself. But first, take a look at this cartoon. It's business as usual by Unni. It's got a little book where the character is looking at the book. The book's cover says Jammu and Kashmir Affidavit, Supreme Court, filed by Government of India. It says center's masterpiece on the unbearable normalcy of being a Kashmir. Take a look at that first. This little cartoon over here. I'm going to request the camera person to just quickly look at that. Well, there you go. That's business as usual by Unni. It says center's masterpiece on the unbearable normalcy of being a Kashmiri. And right next to it, if you look at the information right next to it, it says between her last wish and village in Arunachal, an arduous journey. On a bamboo bridge in Siang district of Arunachal, it says Yaka's last wish was to be in her village when she died, but with no motorable roads to the tiny village of Messing in Arunachal Pradesh's Siang district, her family wasn't sure how they would fulfill it. However, take a look at that picture. On a bamboo bridge in Siang district in Arunachal, between her last wish and village in Arunachal Pradesh. Just a little quick information that I want to give you, but even as we, shifted our focus from the northeast towards the east, actually, this in West Bengal, ladies and gentlemen, the post-poll violence, the West Bengal Panchayat poll violence, the toll is now up to 45 since the 8th of June. So since the 8th of June, you had contestants and candidates that were going out, trying to file their nominations. They were attacked. Before even filing their nominations, many were attacked. Many wouldn't even venture out at all. Many would sit only at home. Several BJP candidates were pictured, sitting inside the headquarters saying that we're too scared to go out. We're certain we're going to be killed. On the other hand, you have several people who are 80 plus are still fighting elections from those particular, Zilla Panchayats or those Panchayat seats, and are, undaunted in the face of fear. They're just going on, moving ahead. But the bottom line remains that lot of bloodshed has happened. 18 people died on the day of polling itself. 6 more dead in Bengal poll violence. Relatives say 3 were killed in police firing. The chief minister says free hand to police to act against those behind violence is what the chief minister has said, Mamata Banerjee. Now the poll result will be subject to our ultimate orders. That is the intervention coming from the High Court. So the High Court has now intervened. It has said poll results will be subject to our ultimate orders. Varghese, throw some light, help the viewers understand, and me as well. What does our ultimate orders mean?
Basically, the court will say that whatever the results are going to be out will be dependent on how we see this entire petitions that have come in front of us, and we would examine it. It was also gone ahead and expressed its displeasure to the State Election Commission over the handling of these polls. I'll just read out the article. The Calcutta High Court on Wednesday said that the Panchayat elections in West Bengal and the declaration of results will be subject to ultimate orders that it may pass in connection with petitions filed on poll-related violence and electoral malpractices. The division bench, which was of Chief Justice T.S. Shivaganam and Justice Hiranmay Bhattacharya, also directed the State Election Commission SEC to inform the winning candidates that their election is subject to further orders to be passed by the court. Basically to say that your victory is not complete. The court will decide whether that victory can be certified or not based on the petitions that have been filed on it. And also the court went on saying that the court has been monitoring the entire process. The bench also expressed displeasure over the SEC's response so far. Now, the SEC is the State Election Commission. We have seen how policemen being beaten up, security officials being beaten up. There have been bait-in charges at the polling stations. Even on counting day, there have been situations where the things have gone out of control at certain counting centers, and there had to be lathi charges there. And attacks have been reported on rival candidates and rival parties as well. So it was a complete law and order situation that was there during the period of the elections. So the Calcutta High Court has taken into account all this. There are a batch of petitions that have come questioning some of the election practices that have happened. Some of them saying that they were intimidated. Some of them saying that there was violence against them because of which they cannot express their franchisee. So all that is coming up, and that is where you have the court coming out and saying that you might have won in the process that we see, but your winning is subject to our approval. That is what it means, because we have to go through those petitions.
Well, right, absolutely. And, then again, there is a Tanjira Bibi, her picture on the front page here, a wife of Hassan Molla, who was killed near a counting center on Tuesday night at Bhangar. I mean, these voices are far and plenty. And every political analyst that I speak to has only one thing to say: oh, this is not new to Bengal, this is not new to West Bengal. So, I mean, what, do we just continue to let people die?
No, a sense of normalcy, violence being normal, a sense of that violence being the norm has been looked into. And I think that is something that I think we should also be worried about, because the sense of bringing some kind of normalcy to violence during polls, that is unacceptable. But then, since the court has intervened, we've just read out what the papers have said at the court's observation, let's leave it to the court to go with the process about the results in these polls. And of course, as we know, that TMC had made a sweep when it comes to these panchayat polls, but it has been a very, very difficult.
The TMC is going to come out and say this is a judicial overreach. This is the center playing its cards right. That's what the TMC is going to come out and say. And the BJP, of course, will continue to demand that, that's the poll violence that has taken place, vandalism, all of that, and BJP leaders, of course, taking stock of situation. So it is a BJP versus TMC fight over there. It's a governor versus chief minister fight over there. Mamata Banerjee for the longest time has been saying that the federal structure is under attack. And now, even as TMC sweeps the local panchayat polls, the High Court has intervened. Also, opposition meet is going to take place. How are parties going to posture themselves is something to look at. More opposition parties at next week's meet, but important to note here that Sonia Gandhi is going to be over there. Sonia Gandhi is expected to attend a dinner meeting on the 17th of July. The opposition grouping to take on the BJP in the next Lok Sabha polls is set to expand, with more parties joining in the second unity meeting being convened at the Congress by the Congress next week in Bengaluru. Bengaluru, again, Karnataka's recent victory. Leaders of 24 non-BJP parties have been invited for the meet on the 17th and 18th of July, the first edition of which saw participation of 15 parties. 17th, 18th July, that opposition meet, Sonia Gandhi might be present.
But
what impact will Sonia Gandhi?
No, you're seeing this opposition meet after a big development in Maharashtra. So when we're talking about Ajit Pawar's exit from the NCP, and of course, the statements that he has made saying that he was laughing at the Patna meet and other things, this 24 to 25 like-minded parties together, factions of certain parties together, well, it's supposed to send out a message. And I think we have to just closely monitor as to what is the kind of messaging that the opposition wants to give, because 100% I'm sure that the issues that reflected in the NCP is going to have an echo in this meeting, and probably the meeting also will dwell upon the possibility of coming together and to keep the flock together to a large extent, so that they will be able to outshine the situation that they are facing on the ground. So I think it is going to be a challenging meeting in Bengaluru, because you have to put out two things. One, you have to say that you're united, because as I said, you have only factions of certain parties with you. And secondly, I think that could be a statement against what happened with the NCP in Maharashtra. There could be a statement of unity also put across, and we'll probably also see some interesting discussions as how they might.
I'm more interested in Nitish Kumar, Lalu Prasad Yadav.
Yes, I mean, that's what I was coming to.
Comments as
yeah,
well.
So I would be.
You remember that Bharat comment, right?
Yes, I remember that Bharat comment. So I'm also looking at those kind of comments coming in from this opposition meet as well.
One thing that's going to be interesting to see, and before we tie all of this up, wind down the show, is going to be the fact that we still don't know who's going to be the face of the opposition. Of course, Rahul Gandhi is there.
See, the Congress is the big party in all this. It's the big brother. But how many of them accept them as the big brother in this? And as of now, I think a lot of people are finding themselves threatened. So they will, try to put their truck with the Congress on this. And also, I mean, let's go further on to one of the stories coming in from Kerala. This is about, remember the professor's hand chopping case?
Right.
Now, yesterday, the court has convicted 6 more people and acquitted 5 more in that.
Yes, Joseph.
Yes. Joseph, there was objection to the question he had made in a paper and some comments on the Prophet that had resulted, or what they say was reflective of his attitude towards the Prophet, and this resulted in his hand being chopped off. And PFI elements were linked into it, and 6 people have been further convicted in that case in Kerala. And this comes just after the PFI's ban. So this is a major conviction
Are we doing a full-blown discussion on it later in the day?
Well, if we get time, we will try to, in fact, get to it. But both of them have reacted. The advocate as well as Joseph has reacted. I think let's now take a look at those 2 bites on what they said after the conviction happened.
Well, if we've got those reactions, let's quickly play them out as well. Reaction in that particular Joseph case.
Altogether 11 accused faces trial in this stage of trial, and in that trial altogether 5 were totally acquitted as found as innocent, and 6 persons were convicted, out of which 3 persons were convicted for the conspiracy and 1 person is convicted for overt act also. So altogether 3 persons connected with the crime is convicted. Other 3 persons are convicted for the offence of not disclosing this fact to the police. After the incident, as per the court verdict, they failed to inform the police about the involvement of other accused in this case, and they are convicted for that offence, and they were enlarged on bail.
Well, so what do you make of that particular statement, Farghese?
Well, that in fact shows that it has been a consistent fight for justice. It's been almost, I think, 10-15 years since that incident has happened. Joseph had to face suspension from where he was, working with, and then this boiled out to be a kind of a divide as well. So right now it looks like there's some kind of a closure to the case that we are seeing.
All right, even as we close down, let's just final quick shots and to all those Tesla lovers and Elon Musk fans out there, important note, Tesla is in talks to set up India factory for electric cars starting at rupees 20 lakh. So, I mean, at 20 lakh rupees is an affordable Tesla car. Nobody would even think of buying a Tesla car at 20 lakh. In the United States, that price is real high. Local manufacture and a base for exports. This is that particular crucial visual when the Prime Minister was in the United States and he met Elon Musk. I'm just going to quickly take you through the salient points. Tesla's earlier plans to tap the Indian car market fell through after the company failed to secure special incentives from the government for importing cars at a lower duty. Government had insisted that cars be manufactured locally instead of being imported from other places, including China. Now, a new deal, the government sources say, involves local manufacturing and exports. Tesla plans to use India as an export base. Tesla team renewed dialogue in India in May ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. So, well, for all those Elon Musk fans and Tesla supporters, the dream, it seems, is about to come true. Well, at least if government sources are anything to go by, it looks like it. A local manufacturing and a base for exports, as Tesla is in talks with India of setting a factory here for electric cars starting at rupees 20 lakhs. Trust you me, All business papers are picking it up, and trust you me, all business shows are talking about this today.
And we are going to have a special as well.
All right, we've got a huge day lined up. Maybe Varghese talks about the Joseph case later on in the day. 1 p.m. Dark Side of the Moon, Chandrayaan 3. That mission is something that we're going to talk about. Later in the evening, a global perspective towards the latter half of the evening. And at 7 p.m., the biggest discussion of the day, To the Point. And for all other updates and, latest and fresh analysis of anything that's happening under the sun, do continue to watch News 9 Live throughout the day.
He thought he could outlast us. And 1 year later, the evidence is right here in this room.